Israeli forces forged deeper into Rafah today, raising fears of more civilian casualties in the Israel-Hamas war. The United Nations estimates nearly 450,000 people have fled the city since May 6th. Israel's allies, including the U.S., have warned against a ground incursion into the region, but Israel has vowed to press on without its support. And fears of a more intense military push into Rafah come amid word that a team of international doctors, including several Americans, are trapped at a hospital near Rafah. Illinois Democratic Senator Tammy Duckworth joins us now. Senator, thank you for joining us. You have a connection to one of these doctors that's trapped there in Rafah. His name is Adam Hamawi. Remind us, what is your connection to him?
20 years ago, when I was wounded in Iraq, Dr. Hamawi was on duty at the ER in Baghdad at the combat surgical hospital, and he saved my life. So when I was wounded, within 20 minutes, I was in front of him, and he is the doctor who not only saved my life, but was able to keep me from becoming a triple amputee by employing a vascular procedure that he just learned in medical school, and saved my right arm.
So, I mean, understandably, then, this is quite personal for you, and it's consistent with work that we know other active duty and retired service members like yourself have been doing to get loved ones or the family or friends of loved ones out of harm's way. What are you learning from the State Department in terms of what, if anything, they can do to get him out?
Well, this is not the first group of doctors saving lives in Gaza that I've worked with. I've hosted a group of doctors who've been either in Gaza or we're working with doctors in there, including with Med Global. In January of this year, we did the same thing. We're finding that, the Rafah crossing is closed on the Egyptian side, but the path to the Rafah crossing is very dangerous to humanitarian convoys, and often come under fire from the IDF. So we need to make sure that we get Egypt to open the crossing, but at the same time, get the Israelis to allow a protected corridor for these humanitarian aid convoys to be able to get to the crossing. I've reached out both to our State Department, to our National Security Council, and to the Israeli Embassy, the ambassador here in Washington, D.C., and everybody is doing everything they can to help try to get this group of doctors out, but also the next group of doctors in to help the civilians in Gaza.
And there have been reports that some of these doctors themselves are actually in tough medical condition. What is your understanding of how they are and why it is so urgent that some of them especially get out?
They're in very tough conditions. There's very little food, almost no water, almost no medical supplies left. Each group of doctors that come in is actually bringing medical supplies with them. And as they expend those supplies, helping the wounded, when they come to the end of that, they then transition out, or the next group comes in. But this particular group of doctor is really down, very low in supplies. I'm texting back and forth with Dr. Hamawi, and it's just checking on him and the status of his colleagues, and they're doing everything that they can. They're continuing to work to supply aid and humanitarian aid, but at the same time, they themselves are dehydrated. They're running low on everything, not just medical supplies, but food and water as well.
And it speaks to the adverse conditions that medical professionals of all nationalities who've been working there in Gaza have endured since this began back in October. Look, more broadly, do you have any sense of how many U.S. citizens or families of American citizens remain in southern Gaza amid fears of a bigger military operation that may be trying to get out?
I don't have a number to give to you, but I will tell you that we're working very hard to try to get as many out as possible. At the same time, we're needing to make sure that humanitarian aid convoys are able to get in and out of Gaza, and that we make sure that innocent civilians are not, especially in these humanitarian convoys, are being injured. And at the same time, we need to make a path for these doctors to get in and out. But we are trying to help as many as we can. At the same time, we understand, Israel was attacked on October 7th. Israelis have the right to defend themselves. Hamas needs to release the hostages. There is a very viable peace deal on the table that Hamas has now rejected twice. It involves releasing the hostages. They need to do that. They could have a mutual ceasefire tomorrow if Hamas would agree to it. At the same time, we also need to make sure that civilians are protected.
And how do you assess the White House's involvement in these ongoing talks? They doing enough? They doing not too much?
I think they're doing everything that they can. I think President Biden has shown some real tough leadership and sometimes having to have very tough conversations with a friend like Israel. But at the same time, again, there is a very viable ceasefire offer on the table right now that Hamas is rejecting. And so we need to go to our friends in Qatar to say, hey, if Hamas is not going to negotiate, then what are you doing hosting, Hamas in Qatar? This is a very complicated situation. At the same time, we need to make sure that the aid continues to flow into Gaza to take care of the wounded civilians.
Well, Senator, you and I, in different positions many years ago, talked about what you call and what others who've been injured in war call their Alive Day, which, as you point out, is nearly 20 years from, is coming up on 20 years. So, I can imagine for you making sure that Dr. Hamawi and the others get out as quickly as possible because of the work he did to save your life and to put you where you are, help put you where you are today. So we thank you for sharing an update with us. Best of luck to them, and please keep us posted.
I will. Thank you.